of the high-level debate. So President Biden just spoke, President Erdogan just spoke, the King of Jordan just spoke, President Lula just spoke. So world leaders are here. They are meeting. There have been some important resolutions in recent days. One was a resolution following the decision of the International Court of Justice that Israel's occupation of the Palestinian lands is illegal, and then the General Assembly voted to take steps concretely that Israel must withdraw from those lands. But of course, this is not enforceable if it's blocked by the United States or by other powers. So there's a lot of frustration in this place today, which is that the world leaders are here, everyone calls for peace, and peace does not occur. And diplomacy does not succeed to this point. This is the reality. And the United States, unfortunately, has been a major obstacle to peace in the Middle East, for example, where everybody, including President Biden again today, said there need to be two states, Israel and the state of Palestine. And yet when the state of Palestine was to be admitted to the UN as a member state, as the 194th member state, the United States alone vetoed it. The United States is the barrier to peace. So this is really the grim reality that we have right now, and it's a very frightening time. The war in the Middle East obviously expanded tremendously in the last 2 days with Israel's massive bombing of Lebanon, including Beirut, including the coastal areas which have not been bombed before, including more bombing today, including thousands of people in Lebanon, civilians, of course, fleeing for their lives from Israeli bombs, the possibility of an imminent ground invasion, although that's not sure, and the war in Ukraine continues to lead to threats of further escalation. Zelensky is coming to the U.S. to try to drag the U.S. into World War III. I think it's nothing short of that. And that's what he's trying to do for whatever tragic or absurd reason, because it's not the reason in the normal sense. So this is really the issue that we face. The leaders are here. Everyone talks about peace, and peace does not occur.
How was President Biden received when he either defended the Western and NATO war on Russia or articulated the need for a two-state solution between Israel and the Palestinians?
When he said two-state solution, there was applause throughout the entire chamber. There's basically unanimity on that point, except practically Israel rejects it, which is not their right under international law. They have no veto over the right of Palestinians, and that's what the International Court of Justice also just said. So this was basically unanimously applauded. But the United States, in practice, has simply armed Israel and prevented the realization of the two-state solution. This is the most basic point. The Israeli government, which is an utterly extremist and violent government, doesn't want it. And the United States politics says, whatever you want, we're with you. Just keep sending us the bills, and we will also we'll keep shipping the money, and we'll keep shipping the bombs. That's the truth. When he spoke about defending Ukraine, which he did, basically in a useless language that just would mean ongoing war or escalation, I'd say about half the chamber applauded. There were applause, but it was very different. It's a divided world on that. There's a completely divided viewpoint about what's going on. My own view, of course, is that this war would end today if Biden said what he did not say, which is that NATO will not enlarge and the United States respects Russia's security interests, and Russia therefore has to respect the security interests of Ukraine. This war, in my view, and the view of John Mearsheimer, and the view of many of your interlocutors and guests, is a war that the U.S. largely picked very unwisely, thinking it would just roll over Russia, which was not to be, because the U.S. wanted to keep expanding its military alliance across the world, including to Russia's border. And Russia said no.
Were you surprised when President Biden was confronted with reality by the Defense Department and apparently changed his mind from the preconceived and hinted at decision to give permission to the Ukrainians to use British and American long-range missiles to strike deep into Russia? It appears that President Putin and Foreign Minister Lavrov's statements, which were clear and unambiguous, were taken seriously. It also appears that the Defense Department more or less big-footed the neocons in the State Department and said, "We're not ready for this, Mr. President." And the president reluctantly changed his mind, even to the embarrassment of Prime Minister Starmer. Did any of that surprise you, Jeff?
Well, it was a great relief, because the statements by the Russians are very clear and should be taken very seriously, which is that we must avoid escalation to nuclear war. This is the single most important fact on the planet. We must listen and not disdain when Russia or China or others say that is a red line for us because that threatens our security, and then have people like our CIA director, shamefully, by the way, say, "Oh, don't worry